What is up, you guys? Coach Ryan from Team Flex here. We're about to get down into the Arnold Classic Wellness. I'm a bit under the weather today, you guys, so sorry if my voice sounds, annoying to any degree, but we cannot wait for the Arnold. We could not wait to be getting on this wellness content and talking about it with you all. And I know you're waiting. A lot of you are waiting for these videos here. So we have a new Arnold Wellness champion, Eduarda Bezerra. And if you guys been paying attention on the channel, we covered her from, literally her first comp in the NPC to the Pro Card to the Olympia to now she wins the Arnold, defeating current Olympia, wellness champion, Isa. So it's very, very crazy time for wellness division, and it kind of adds a little bit of, new stuff to the mix. So very exciting time for all of you to be wellness competitors out there. And that's what we're basically going to do the video for today. We're going to talk a lot about why these placings may have landed the way they did, what it means for you out there as somebody wanting to compete in wellness, do your best on stage this season. If you don't know, the Arnold Classic is one of those main things that can be kind of a signifier for, where criteria is going to be heading for that season. It's our first kind of big competition, if you will, of the year, but it's really also the start of the season, even for the amateurs. So all of you watching, if you want to do wellness, this video, you'll learn a lot of good things that's going to hopefully help you, direct your look a little bit better to do better on stage this season. So wellness, as we know, lower body dominance, all three of these ladies are going to have it. Just to recap placings here. So Eduarda in first, Isa taking second, and Elisa over here taking third. So we're going to cover each one of them a bit, and then we'll keep going down the line, talk about the full top five, and go through that. So if we already know, obviously, that everything is about lower body dominance, you can very much expect a pro competition to showcase, especially at this level, the Arnold Classic, a lot of lower body dominance. However, in this top five call out, I do think it's pretty interesting that we start to see exactly again where the wellness criteria starts to almost push, but then it pulls right back. Okay. And what I'm talking about is in shoulder size. And we'll move on to that when we get over to Elisa here. But let's look at Eduarda. So Eduarda shows, some shape, some fullness to the shoulders to the degree that you need to for wellness division. Honestly, looking at it, it almost looks like it could push a little bit too far, but on her physique, it still works. And I'll tell you why. It really has to do with the amount of muscle she has lower body, right? So if she did not have as much muscle in her lower body, the shoulders would definitely look too big. However, given where she's at and how much muscle she carries down low, which is honestly a lot more than even Isa, which is crazy to say. We'll see as we go through these shots a little bit more. But she has so much muscle density lower body wise that even though her shoulders could look a little big, if you're just looking at that, if you look at the rest of her physique, it does not appear to be the case. She is very clearly lower body dominant, showcases that pretty well. If we took her shoulders and her bicep and tricep and put it on a different athlete, it would probably be a problem. It'd probably be too much. But for her, she has so much lower body dominance and density, it just really showcases through. So we see a lot of that glutes from the front here in this pose. We see a lot of fullness in the quads, a lot of fullness overall in her physique. You can see that quad sweep. This is a lot of muscle, okay? And she really does pull off the very narrow, tiny waist effect. So not only does this taper work really well from up top, it also very clearly is over dominant in the lower body, and that is our wellness criteria. So huge win for Eduarda here, and she's just owns this front pose, okay? Conditioning right where it should be. We can see some lines in the abdominals, obliques, a little bit in the quads, a little bit in the shoulders. That's exactly where wellness level condition should be. You don't want to be too cut, too deep, striations, things like that. Obviously, you don't want to be overly soft and not showing those lines and things. Otherwise, it's not going to score you favorably either. But for her, this is a slam dunk look, okay? And in this front, she definitely does, kind of own Isa in a way in these poses, okay? So let's take a look at Isa. So Isa's got some good shoulder fullness. However, she is on the smaller side in her shoulders, okay? And, that's just a factor for how she looks. It favored her at Olympia a bit here. It's kind of not favoring her as much on this stage because Eduarda has a lot more muscle. So Eduarda showcasing more muscle in the up top and even in lower. That's making Isa look a bit underdeveloped in this lineup, and we'll do the exact call out photos here near the end of the video between these two, so you guys can see exactly how judges saw it. It'll make a lot more sense, okay? But Isa here, she's got that good shape. Everything's here. Don't get me wrong. Isa's physique is phenomenal. Great representation of the criteria. Obviously, she's the Wellness Olympia champion. But what I'm seeing a little bit different from her today is, a little bit maybe tad less in the shoulders, but also her waist appears wider than I've seen it in any recent time. So with this, that can become an issue because it reduces the effect of that taper, okay? So she still obviously has that tapers from the shoulders and the waist. That's still happening. But when you look over at Eduarda compared to that, right, I mean, this is a very dramatic taper compared to a little bit more of a rectangular, boxy taper here from Isa at Arnold. For whatever reason, a little bit thicker in the waist it appears. And it doesn't appear it's a conditioning thing. I'm not exactly sure. It could be a pose that's, a little bit off or something of that nature. But either way, I do think that makes an effect. It's not as dramatic of a taper. It's not as dramatic of a look there. And her upper body appears to be a little bit smaller. She looks to be honestly a little bit more symmetrical than she should in this lineup, in my opinion, okay? Looking lower body wise, that glute density never goes away, neither does the quad density in the development. But interestingly enough, looking at her muscle lower body wise to her upper in this shot, coupled with a little bit more thickness in the waist, it kind of does look like she's a little bit more balanced, which again, not favored in wellness. Eduarda does not look balanced. You can tell that her lower body is very, very much more developed than her upper, even though her upper has more muscle. So in this lineup, a little bit more of a muscle look is what's winning at this event, it looks like, right? Compared to Isa at least. And we'll move down the line and we'll keep talking about these comparisons here. But Isa also, lower body wise, I am noticing a little bit softer look in her quads than we've seen. So that's an interesting factor, right? Because she looks pretty hard up here in the top. You can see, even some veins in her biceps and stuff, but a little bit softer down here, not getting our typical kind of separations that we may see or these soft lines there. So again, maybe a little bit of a thicker look, maybe a little bit off conditioning wise, but really I think it's a more muscle look where Eduarda just looks like she has that little bit more dramatic taper and, is more dominant lower body. Now looking over at Elisa here. So this is where I think we start to see the criteria shift a bit again. Meaning the competitors that continue to try to bring more muscle in, continue to not win these big competitions. And Elisa is one of the ones that pushes her upper body muscle a lot, in my opinion. Even in this shot, I'm getting, a lot of just screaming deltoids, if you will, right? Like a lot of muscle in the shoulders, in the upper body in general. And, like Eduarda, she has bigger shoulders in this lineup, but not even as big as Elisa at all, right? Elisa has bigger shoulders in general. Also, lower body wise, it doesn't look to be that she's superiorly over dominant down here than she is compared to her upper, right? So it looks to me more symmetrical, as where Eduarda, she's got clear lower body dominance even compared to her upper body. And I'm just not getting that same effect from Elisa. Very good wellness physique. I think a little bit too much in the shoulders. Good, nice waist taper here. Very dramatic. This is even, more dramatic than Isa's in a way in this lineup. But lower body in this shot, at least, it does look to be kind of lacking. It looks a little bit more symmetrical to the upper body. Even just at a glance, you could look at that and say that the upper body almost is looking to be a little bit more dominant than the lower here in this lineup, right? So still good glute development, quad development overall, and obviously some of this is the pose and the angle, but just looks a little bit, different, and also softer in the lower body for sure. So she's definitely a tad softer than both Isa and Eduarda in the lower body. That does make an effect. And again, it looks to be a little bit of an uneven sort of look here. So the lower body's clearly softer than upper. These are things that are noted, but really I think, for her, it's just that muscle in the shoulders, a little bit too dominant of a look, too much symmetry. And that's what I typically see from her in these lineups anyway. So let's move now down into the back pose a bit here. Same three athletes, same three placings. Eduarda in the middle, Isa over here. And Isa, we had to actually pull a Gilco video because somehow the NPC News Online did not have an exact shot of her back pose. So if that looks a little bit different, that's why, you guys, but we're doing the best we can do here. I don't know how they didn't really get an exact, maybe they'll upload it later, maybe it didn't get uploaded, I don't know, but there was no exact back pose of Issa in that from prejudging. So let's look now at the back, because this is where the full story gets told. So, Eduarda, we talked about, okay, maybe shoulders could look a little bit big. I think it's really just a lot of her art of how she poses, because here they do not, right? Like, you look at the lower body, no chance. I mean, these are massive quad sweeps. The glutes are so developed at this point. I mean, that is some serious glute development. A lot of that upper glute overall, the tie-in comes through. Everything is there. You get this 3D, that tie-in look from having a lot of development, okay? So she really, really does just like entirely clean up the whole lineup in this back pose. There's no question looking at this, in my opinion, that, okay, yeah, she clearly won. In the front, could have been a little closer, but I think even there, she very much still was the clear winner. In back, you got to be looking at the wrong screen if you think there's any way Issa or Elisa or anybody else in this top 5 pulled this off more than her, because realistically, that's just a lockdown look. This quad sweep, everything that you would want to see in wellness to the degree that you want to see it, it's all there. And, Eduarda, I've talked about her for a while. So we kind of followed her journey. She's a serious contender to take the Wellness Olympia title. I will say it now. I could have thrown back to some of my prediction videos from before talking about this. I've said that before. I think we will see it maybe happen. I mean, her winning Arnold is a very, very, very scary thing for Issa or even Fran to be thinking about if, they want to try to keep those titles, go win them again, so on and so forth. I mean, Eduarda is new in this, and she's climbed the ranks very, very fast. So serious contender at Olympia, gives you guys all something to follow along with. Now, looking at Issa. So Issa does pull off a very good wellness look here, obviously. Our champion, if you will, from Olympia. Less in the shoulders from the back. That's great. Lower body looks clearly dominant. Everything is great here. Upper glutes there. Overall glutes there. Tie-in. Everything showcases exactly how it should. Hence why she would be, the Olympia winner. The difference here again, though, becomes just in the muscularity. So Eduarda clearly has more muscle lower body still. And we can tell that because quad sweeps are not as big on Issa. Her glutes are not projecting 3D as much as, Eduarda's is. And overall, it's really just not as much muscle. I think it's pretty easy to see that. You get these harder cuts and these pull through tie-ins more, and just this overall, look from having more muscle in the lower body. So she does have more muscle than Issa. And that, again, it could be the indicator here, big factor. So Issa pulls off the look. It's not close, though, in my opinion, back here looking at this. I mean, this is a slam dunk look for Eduarda. Issa's going to have to, go back to the drawing table a bit, add some more muscle for Olympia, because Eduarda is coming in hot, and who knows where this could go. Looking over here at Elisa here, she was very shoulder forward in the front pose, and we're pretty shoulder forward in the back pose. And what I mean by that is, she's definitely dominant lower body, obviously a wellness competitor, but it does look the most symmetrical out of the lineup of these two ladies before her, where, the shoulders, you could say, do compare to the lower body in this sense. So she's still got great quad sweep. Everything's there. Not as much mass, though, overall in the lower body, in the glute, the upper glute, and just tie in everything here. So she still has it all. It's all showing up as it should. Conditioning is on point. From this look, everything is there. Doesn't have as much muscle, though. Honestly, it's kind of, you could almost compare to Issa and say, well, maybe Elisa could have taken second. I don't know. I want to know what you guys think. Comment that down below if you think these placings should have landed a little bit differently, or if you think even Eduarda should not have won. I want to know what you guys think. But either way, it looks to me, you could go, Elisa is very good from the back here, tightens that up a bit, could go any which way. So realistically, though, I think maybe just a little bit tad too shoulder forward, a little bit too symmetrical in that lineup. That could be a factor. Now, we're going to pull in our next two now. So this goes into the top 5. By the way, if you guys are liking these videos, subscribe. We're going to keep these pumping all year, giving you guys insight, things to do, or at least something to do while you're doing your cardio warm up, or you're doing whatever you need to be doing. Watch something to keep your mind in the zone, right? But we got a lot more coming. A lot of great content. Promise. All right. So let's take a look here. We'll leave Eduarda in the middle. She's the winner. And we're going to bring in Cass Gillis. Okay. Cass over here takes 4th, and Sandra over here takes 5th. Okay. All competitors we've covered on the channel many, many times. So this is, again, great representations of the look, but also some very clear differences. Let's talk a bit about it. Don't need to cover Eduarda again, but just look at the difference side by side, Eduarda to Cass. Okay, you can definitely see instantly. Well, Cass came in more muscular and leaner. So she came in with more muscle and leaner than Eduarda, places 4th. Okay, keep that in mind. These are all important things to keep in mind. Looking over here at Sandra, a little bit of the same thing you could say, right? Comes in more muscle, not as lean as Cass, a little bit softer, but a little bit different proportion. We'll break them down step by step. Let's take a look. So Cass, every time I see Cass and I'm doing these reviews, it's always a very, very shoulder dominant look for her. Like, it's the first thing that you see. It's the first thing you focus on. Anybody looking at the screen, I think you kind of get that vibe from it, right? And that, I do think, is constantly, the thing that is an issue for her, because she does look a bit symmetrical every single time. She's got great muscle, lower body, everything is there. All the shape shows up. The shoulders, though, just are so, dominant. It's really almost like, okay, figure look from the upper body almost is what I kind of get, right? Like, she could train delts maybe a couple more sets a week or something, and she could go do figure. So very shoulder dominant look, and that's okay if that's what she likes. But 4th place here at this event, again, I think a message from judges saying, all right, yep, we like the wellness look. You're still in the wellness look, but too much shoulder. Let's move that down a bit. But also, she came in a bit leaner, right? She's probably the leanest of the top 5 group. We start to see a little bit more threading in the shoulders, things like this. These are those indicators. Abs are very, there's no body fat on these abs at all. I mean, she's very lean. More separation in the quads, and this is what we typically see from Cass, though. Great wellness physique, great overall look. Looks a little bit leaner, a little bit more depleted maybe, but still too shoulder forward, I think, for the lineup. Pulls everything else together well. Looking over here at Sandra, this is a good look overall. Could be a bit shoulder forward. I think she's still pretty dominant lower body, it looks like, but she does not have as much muscle mass. This dominance down here, it looks to be a little bit softer of a look maybe, so could be a combination of being a little bit softer with a little bit more muscle, but it is still a pretty symmetrical look for her overall. And very narrow waist, pulls it all together. Still great wellness physique. 5th at the Arnold, nothing to scoff at. Great job. But just to give you all a little bit of insight, it seems to be the competitors that, look the most symmetrical and or have the bigger shoulder look are placing lower. And that would be the case if I continued to follow through. If you guys want me to do the full Arnold class, okay, you want another video, part 2, going down the line all the way, I'll do it. I'll do 3 if that's what it takes to get through all the competitors. Let me know. Comment that if you want to see that. Otherwise, I'm going to leave it at this top 5. Okay, now let's take a look from the back. And again, sorry for the difference in photos. So this is from finals. This is Cass over here from finals. Again, somehow no back pose photo of Cass from prejudging. So very interesting that happened with 2 of the top 5 competitors. So we have to use this one. Bear with me. It's okay. It'll still explain, make total sense. So I think when you see just the 3 of these athletes, it's clear again. Okay, Eduarda totally dominated this top 5 class. It's kind of like there's a massive separation. She does. If we look at Eduarda, it's a lot of early Fran looks. Okay, Fran CLE. So we'll have to see where that goes. We'll have to see where it goes from there. And we'll have to see, could be a very, very interesting Olympia. At least we're getting some difference in the wellness division at this point. Granted, I could have told you guys exactly the top 5, right? But here we are, getting a little bit more variety with Eduarda coming to play. All right, so looking over at Cass, again, very lean look, so we get a lot more stringiness in the quads and hamstrings, so she definitely bought very lean, but I mean, This back post so symmetrical. So shoulder shape, tapers in, everything's down here. I mean, it's not an over-dominant lower body wellness look. It still is in a lot of ways because of the quads and everything, but even the glutes look a little bit depleted here. Not as much up of that upper glute, overall glute development in general, especially not compared to Eduarda. So I think she did end up coming a bit too symmetrical again because of the upper body and also maybe a tad depleted, not as full as she could have been. Definitely leaner. So that's a huge factor. Looking over here at Sandra now, okay, so pulls it all together well. Good shoulder shape here from the back. Tapers in well. This is good. Lower body-wise, just not nearly as much muscle going on in her lower body compared to like Eduarda, right? And you can see that very clearly in the glutes. She's got the upper glute shape, overall glute shape. It's all there. A little bit of that tie-in. But not nearly, the development level to Eduarda. So big message from judges. Yes, we want lower body dominance. We want a lot of muscle in that lower body. We want your conditioning to be on par, and we don't want your upper body to be overdone. That's really, again, the continued message for Wellness Division. I know a lot of people for a long time have been, thinking it was going to be a mass monster division. It's going to be all about the biggest girls no matter what. The girls that can get on the most PEDs, the most this and that, and they come in with these huge, almost like She-Hulk looking physiques with huge shoulders, huge upper. I mean, the judges keep making messages, though, with every single competition that I review, which is a lot, that they don't want to see, you having too much shoulders, too much all this, and being symmetrical to the lower body. They definitely want to see a lot of lower body dominance. And the more you can get that, the better it's going to be for you on stage, especially if you can pull off that conditioning 100%. So that's where we see the differences. I think it's some clear differences in the placings. And if I continue down this list, it would just become more and more obvious. So if you guys had a competitor that you thought was like, why weren't they in the top 5 that you've been following along with, you've been paying attention to, drop their name down there. I'll, review that piece if you want more videos on this. But this overall is a very clear message from the judges. The wellness is right here. This is where it is. I said it. I've been saying it on the YouTube a bit now. I feel like we finally have a very established wellness look. It takes some time with new divisions. I mean, it came out in 2020, and here we are, 2025. And I think we have a very clear look. I mean, it is Isa, it is Fran, it is now Eduarda, and it may be Eduarda. I want to know, do you guys think Eduarda could take the title from Isa? Do you think she's just totally going to sweep away Fran at this point? Like, what do you think? Where do you think we're going to, or do you think it's going to be a whole new, athlete at Olympia this year? Granted, we're predicting this very, very far in advance, but hey, that's all right. It makes the whole sport fun. All right, a lot more videos coming. Let me know if you want more stuff from the Arnold. Thanks for watching. Coach Ryan is out.